What's up, party people? Today's lesson is all about paper sculpture. Paper is an amazing material. We can rip it, fold it, stitch it, paint it, glue it. We can dye it. We can tie knots with it. We can build strong things out of it. We can use it for papier-mâché. We decorate with it. We communicate with it. Imagine a world without it. It's a really fantastic material to use for sculpture. It's accessible, it comes in all different kinds, and I know that wherever you are you can get hold of some. Before we start, we'll do our mindfulness. It's really important to be fully in the present when you're doing your art. Art is all about observing and noticing and experimenting and making decisions, so you need to be in a good frame of mind in order to produce interesting work. So today's mindfulness is again about noticing what's around us, being present in the room that we're actually in. So in a moment, I'd like you to pause this video, take a really deep breath, the deepest breath you've taken all day, right down into your belly, in and out, and for 1 whole minute, you can time yourself, say what you notice in the room around you. So for example, curtain, laptop, cat, sketchbook, glue stick, wall, window, door, door frame, door handle, ruler, and so on. So pause the video and give yourself 1 whole minute to calm down and be completely present for this art lesson. Okay, now you've done your mindfulness, let's get started. I want to start by talking about an artist called Richard Serra. Richard Serra was born in the 1930s and he's an American artist who's involved in the process art movement. That's an art movement that's predominantly concerned with the activity of actually making the art as its meaning and context. He was the son of a pipe fitter and he worked in steel mills in his early 20s, which influenced his choice of materials. He was friends with some really famous artists, including Eva Hesse, who's really cool, you should look her up. He even started a furniture removals company with the famous painter Chuck Close to fund his art in his early career. When he first started making his art, he used materials like fiberglass and rubber, but he soon moved on to using metals, which I think is partly influenced by his father's job and the fact that he worked in steel mills. Richard Serra's work is often enormous installations, and he bases it sometimes on process words such as splash and rip, curve, bend and fold. So he's ideal to inspire us if we're interested in making structure-based work in this paper sculpture project. Okay, I'd like you to pause the video and have a little look at some of Richard Serra's works. In this piece of work by Richard Serra, just look at the scale. Observe the different forms and how they relate to each other. In this next image, you can see him working on a drawing. His drawings are fantastic and really worth looking at. In this next image, you can see the work of Richard Sweeney, a contemporary artist who suspends his beautiful folded paper sculptures in large spaces, exploring movement, time and space. Imagine using folding within your paper sculpture to create more twists and turns. In this next image, which I just found online, you can see many different methods of building with paper, including cut and slot. Okay, now you've had a chance to have a look at some of Richard Serra's art. We're going to emulate his curved, interesting forms using different kinds of paper. We're going to make a maquette which we can then work back from with pencil, paint or print. I want you to start by going around your learning space, your apartment, your house, wherever you are, and finding some different kinds of paper, different thicknesses, different textures and different colours. I'm going to show you how I experiment with paper in the style of Richard Serra in the next clip. However, I'd like you to experiment in your way. Here you can see that I've cut various different lengths and widths of paper strip. I've used brown paper, cartridge paper, tracing paper and tissue paper. Using twisting and curling techniques, I'm adhering the paper to my sketchbook page using a glue stick. Inspired by Richard Serra, I'm trying to pass papers and curves close to each other and in my own style working through each other. Different translucencies of paper will allow me to produce different kinds of shadows when I photograph my work later on. I've even used a dart to create a little building-like form. You can see me playing with the arrangement of my paper forms. Composition is everything in sculpture, just as it is in painting. I'm experimenting further with different ways of holding my materials and my shapes down in order to create interesting sculptures that I can photograph from many different angles. It's really important that you take lots of interesting photographs of your paper sculptures from different angles and edit them before you start to work back from your paper sculpture. Well done!